Thank you very much for joining the author's table today too.
Thank you for having me.
Of
I
course.
haven't I haven't done a podcast in a while, so
Well, good.
it's a
Well,
good refresher. Yeah.
oh, that's good. Yeah, we need to get you into a habit, right? All right. Well, let's get started. So, Dylan, what was your motivation or inspiration to start writing?
I think even in like even like primary school days, my writing and my creativity was always something that my teachers were telling me was my strong point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it's something that I've always been praised for, and people are always telling me, when are you going to write a book, when are you going to write a book. And eventually, because of quarantine,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, saw it as the perfect opportunity, because I wasn't doing much else. There was a long period where my school didn't even have online lessons going on because of the uncertainty about if we were going back or not.
Yeah. So
So
that opened up a
yeah, it
lot of
was the
doors.
perfect time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a huge book as well that I've just written. And if I really don't have as much time to write now as I did back then, so if school was still going on, I think this book would have come out a lot later than it did.
Oh, sure. You know, it's under unfortunate circumstances though that a lot of people found
Yeah.
their creativity during that time.
Hmm.
And but that's great. So do you have like a like a mentor that you sort of uh, took advice from or followed?
There isn't one constant mentor. It would just, I guess, be my teachers throughout the years,
Sure,
giving me guidance. But other than that, it's mostly just looking towards the authors that I idolize
sure,
and
sure.
seeing what they're doing and trying to replicate that,
Now are you in?
and trying to be more subversive, because I'd argue that this book is not a very typical fantasy novel. It's very subversive,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't really explain that without spoiling the entire book. That's
Right.
the thing.
Yes. Now do you like to draw as well?
I'm not actually huge into art, but I used to have a sketchbook that I draw things in. But
Oh,
with my plans and like visualizing how the worlds go, it's mostly
yes.
just in my head, honestly.
Oh, okay. So draw like the little like storyboards, like people in commercials would do, or
No, it's not something that I've ever really done.
okay,
Um, but I think it helps that I've got that creativity still,
sure,
and I'm able to visualize everything, so I don't really need to draw it out.
okay, sure,
I can like pull out every single like fortress and everything that's in the book if in my head. I know what all the characters look like and everything.
Alfred Hitchcock was like that too. Yeah, he had everything in his mind that he knew how the plot was going to be, and so
Yeah.
it's takes a lot to do that, and that's wonderful.
Mhm.
Now you're also a self-publisher, correct?
Yeah.
Now, what kind of like pros and cons did you face when you were trying to publish your book?
It's a lot more work, but I think that as long as you're willing to market your book and you're willing to take on some strategies that will help you get that book out there, you will probably achieve just as much success as you would have if you had gone through the traditional routes.
That's correct. Yes,
And having everything in your hands means more flexibility as well. You can do whatever you want.
that's
You
right.
don't have to rely. You don't have to depend on anyone else. And I think that yeah, there are definitely some mistakes I made with my self-publishing this time round that I won't be doing again. There were some things that I regret doing, but not to the extent where I think that self-publishing was a mistake.
Right.
I think I did ultimately took the right route.
Good. That's how you live and learn, though. You
Hmm.
learn from your mistakes and you move on,
Yeah.
and just don't keep repeating them. Yeah. Now, your book is called Noble Betrayed. Now, it's your first book, your
Yeah.
first novel,
Hmm.
and it's an epic fantasy novel. So let's talk about that a little bit without giving out the whole story.
Okay, so the main plot of Noble Betrayed is the main group of characters. There are multiple points of views in the book, but the main I'll talk about the main storyline mostly.
Mm-hmm.
So the main family is the Persian family, and they fulfill the kind of role that characters like the Stark family have in Game of Thrones, for example. Where the central family, the leader is quite he's sort of a recluse compared to the other families who are all a lot closer, but he is friends with the king, and he goes off to help the king. He's serving as his high earl, which is like the second in command position. Um, but it comes at a terrible time because his wife Gwendis sees this as the perfect opportunity to get back at him for domestically abusing her in the past.
Mm. Like it gets a little hairy, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and so I would argue that the Simon and Gwendis feud is the main storyline that goes on throughout the book. But there are, because of the wide array of points of view, there are tons of other stories going on, which will probably continue into a sequel when I finish that one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for example, one of the points of view that I get a lot of praise for is one of Simon's sons, Dayron, is deaf, and he has a story where he gets a pet baby griffin, and they go off on like an adventure where they find out this huge mystery involving the true nature of the kingdom and what's going on, which is what I was talking about by it
Mm-hmm.
being a subversive fantasy. It's his storyline that finds all this stuff out, and it was some of the most fun I had writing, because because he's deaf, it means that I can't
Mm-hmm.
rely on dialogue, which is something that a lot of authors use to get the plot moving forward. I can't do that with him. I need to rely on descriptive details. So it was a really fun challenge to write from the perspective of a deaf person.
So
And then also there's the fact that his storyline is the one that's carrying out the subversive parts of the story, and it
okay.
makes it not a typical fantasy story.
So now, when you were coming up with your novel, how did you come about with getting characters and how did you put all that together?
I started off just so there's an appendix at the front of the book where it just lists all the characters. That was actually the first thing that I did, but at that point the characters were just names and roles. Some of them even the names changed
Okay.
during
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
writing. So I started off with that, decided which characters were in the positions that had interesting stories for me to tell, and then expanded on them just over time,
So
and eventually it fleshed out into this giant story.
so were they these like ideas maybe that you like just grabbed from like things maybe you saw or heard or and just sort of started plotting them together kind of thing? Is that how?
Yeah, it was just finding a way to put everything together. I remember it started off as kind of a joke, I guess, because I wasn't sure if I was going to have the time. So, like, some of the characters are named after like teachers and things like that. But I decided to keep that in because A, the characters aren't actually based on the teachers anymore. They just fulfill the role that they're meant to be fulfilling. And B, I just think it's a nice way to honor the teachers because I haven't I haven't given a name to any teacher that I don't like. So
So they gave you good grades.
yeah,
Now, have you started your next novel yet?
I have. What I wanted to do first is do a novel that isn't fantasy to prove that fantasy isn't the only thing that I want to do because I look at every kind of genre. I don't just stick to fantasy. I read everything. I watch everything, and I'll probably end up being a very genre hopping author. So I decided that it would be better to do something that isn't fantasy first, and then
Mm-hmm.
go back to fantasy and finish all the noble books, and then I'll go and just hop between things and
Sure.
do whatever I want to do.
So, do you think this was going to be a novel, a continuation?
This, yeah. So the current project that I'm doing is a tragedy. It's going to be called Master Misfortune, and
Mm-hmm.
it's the message of the novel is it's about a man who spends a lot of time aspiring to be like characters that he reads about and watches about. So aspiring to be like characters that real people aren't really capable of being. And his attempts to aspire to these people leads to his demise.
So it is a fantasy book.
Yeah, yeah, it's not like medieval or anything.
Okay.
It's just it's set in the modern times. And once that's out, I'm gonna go back to Noble, and I will do Noble Divided, which will be the second one, and most likely a third one, just because who doesn't love a fantasy trilogy?
So that's awesome that you already have that in place, and you already have the titles and stuff. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool. Now, how much time do you like to put to writing? Like, 'cause I know you're in school and everything, so it takes a little time too.
yeah, it's a lot harder now because I'm in sixth form now, which is like the final years just before university. So there's a lot of work. The workload has increased
Oh yeah,
exponentially considered to when I was writing Noble Betrayed. So it is a lot harder to find time to write, but I think I'm making more use of the time that I have because I spent a lot of time in Noble Betrayed just doing. I used to just do first draft of every chapter, and then
yeah.
I'd go back after everything was done. But now I'm being smarter and realizing it's
Yeah.
better not to wait until you've done 500 pages to start redoing stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Now you're
But yeah, I think I'm making better use of my time now,
oh, good.
even though there isn't as much time as I would like.
Time management, right?
Yeah.
Now you're a senior, junior, senior.
I don't know what the equivalent is.
Oh,
Next year is my final year before university,
okay. It would be like a junior, like in high
something
school.
like that. I
Yes.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Now you're also a gamer and musician.
yeah.
So now, what games do you like, and what instruments do you play?
With games, I play a wide variety, but I tend to be more of a story, like first person, like single player game person than a multiplayer person.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, I will play like Call of Duty and things like that, but they're not my favorites. My favorites are games like I think one that's had a huge influence on my storytelling now since I've played it is
Mm-hmm.
Red Dead Redemption 2. And because I think I see video games now as the best medium of storytelling in this age because it lets the user become more involved because they interact with the characters. They
Mm-hmm.
play as the character, you practically become the characters that you're playing as. I think that it's a far better medium of storytelling now than I think that it's a lot more powerful and has a lot more potential than the other mediums, even compared to like film and TV.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so Red Dead Redemption had a huge influence on me. God of War had a huge influence on me with like father son stories and things like that. That's definitely going to have an impact on how I write the next Noble book. I love the Mass Effect trilogy. Yeah, I've played a lot of single player games, but my favorite ones are the ones with the best stories.
So and that's what get the juices flowing, right?
Yeah,
That's awesome. Now, what music or what instrument do you like to play?
I have a piano and a guitar there behind me right now.
Piano
So
too.
with yeah, I started playing piano at a really young age. I can't remember specifically. I was probably like single digit, single digit age. And then one of my piano tutors gifted me the guitar. So now I've been trying to self teach my. I've been trying to self teach that as well.
Now, are you a right-handed or left-handed?
Right handed.
You're right-handed. Yeah, because see, I'm right-handed, but I play with my left hand, so I have to flip
Yeah.
the strings.
I've always just done whatever just feels natural to me. So
Yes,
sometimes I swap. It's yeah.
that's great. I mean, I think that's part of a artistic mindset because a lot of creativity. The
Yeah.
games and the instruments, and I mean, I think that's awesome. Now, now, what are you studying in school, Dylan?
I'm doing my A levels right now, which means you pick three subjects to
Okay.
specialize in, sort of. So I'm doing English literature, mathematics, and computer science.
Ooh. So
Yeah,
yeah, the computer science. I mean, that's a great field
Yep.
too, and so is literature too. I mean, because you're on the right track now. I mean, it's
Yeah, I did very well in my GCSEs. So I got the highest possible grade that you could get on everything, like across the board.
well, congratulations. That's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you. So I wanted to make sure that I was doing a balance of more essay subjects like English and then more logic based things like maths and computer science. I think computer science is kind of in the middle now, but
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have a balance because I enjoy doing everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Now you are going to continue on college.
Yeah, I want to go to Oxford, but we'll see what happens.
There you
But
go.
yeah, all of my choices are top ones that I'm aiming for.
Good for you. Congratulations. That's great. Um, Now, have you participated in any book signing events yet, Dylan?
I haven't done a signing, but I did speak at a literary festival. It was the AIM Literary Festival. They offered to let me have a speech while they were doing their segment on young authors
Mm-hmm.
because they do one of those programs where they help younger kids than me write their first short book, and they let me have a speech just before they gave out all of the certificates to everyone. My speech was probably about 5 minutes long. It was, yeah, quite a long speech, but uh, a lot of people told me it was the highlight of the event afterwards.
How did you feel when you did it?
It was, yeah. The thing with me is I don't like socializing, but I'm good at public speaking for some reason, or at least decent at it. And so I didn't feel really nervous at the time. I was just kind of getting out of the way in a sense. But I could see the looks on everyone's faces, and I could see that I was having an impact that I wasn't even aware of yet until
Mm-hmm.
afterwards when everyone was coming over to tell me that my speech was amazing.
Oh yeah. I mean, even talking with you right now, I mean, you come across very, very professional and very. I mean, you do very well.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course. And I think too that even the stuff that I've done, and your mother too. You can look back at it and say, wow,
Hmm.
everything was like planned for you, and you didn't even realize it at the time.
Yeah.
And I think I think you're going to do very well. But I would like to also ask you about any writers clubs, like book clubs, or even your library. Have you participated in any of that stuff?
I haven't, but I do. I've met a lot of other young authors and poets and things like
Mm-hmm.
that over social media,
Mm-hmm.
and so I am actively talking to a lot of other writers, and I've inspired a few other people to start being more interested in poetry and writing as well, like some of my friends.
Oh, sure.
And because yeah, especially uh, with my generation, a lot of them don't see the value in books anymore,
Mm.
and a lot of them are not interested in reading anymore. But
Mm.
I found that my whole story has inspired a few of my friends to actually get more into reading.
And keep it up too.
Yeah, and they're starting to see the merits of it
That's
rather than
right.
just ignoring it.
That's right. Yeah, you have to read. I mean, you have to keep that going.
Yeah,
Now, Dylan, do you have a website?
not yet. It's in the works.
It's in the works. Now,
Yeah,
are you doing it yourself?
I'm going to have a role in it because I have a background in HTML. I know how it works. But I think I'll probably want to collaborate with other web designers as well.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely keep your hands in that because that's very
Yeah,
critical because it's you that they're putting out there.
yeah.
Um, now, where do you see yourself in the next few years? I mean, because I know you're working on the three novels now. So,
So outside of writing, at university, I want to do a law degree.
mm,
So hopefully I'll be a barrister by then, which is the same thing as an attorney, I think, in America. And with my writing, I think I'd like to think that by then I'll be done with Noble.
so that'll take you how long? Will that be for like 5 years? I think, or
Yeah, I can't say for sure, because this current book that I'm doing has taken a lot longer than I thought it would.
Yeah.
So that'll probably be the case with the other ones as well. But I think, yeah, maybe about 5 or 6 years. I think by then I think I'll be done with Noble, and then I'll start my genre hopping that I want to do,
Oh,
where I'll just kind of write a novel in every genre that you can think of.
that'd be wonderful. I'd love to see your name, with all these novels you've done. Because you never.
Yeah, I want to be. Yeah, I could be like the Christopher Nolan of
Yeah.
authors. I just kind of do everything.
Yeah. Hey, you never know. I mean, just don't put all that pressure on you though, because you don't have a time. You know, you just do a little bit at a time and keep that
Yeah,
creativity flowing.
I try not to pressurize myself too much.
Yeah.
Um, but I see writing as sort of therapy anyway. So I don't really see it as something that should stress me out. I see it as something that helps me decompress.
Good. That's awesome. Well, Dylan, I want to wish you the very best, and it was a pleasure talking with you today, and I know you're gonna go far,
Thank you.
and just keep me in the loop of how you're
I
doing,
will.
because I definitely want to know what you're doing and possibly get you back on the program.
I'll be
Okay,
back when Master Misfortune releases, hopefully.
that'll be fantastic. And again, thank you so much, Dylan, and I wish you the very best, and good luck in your school.
Thank you.
Okay, bye, Dylan.
Bye.